And it looks like we are live. We'll let this stream breathe for just a second. Got green check marks across all platforms. And looks like we're good to go. Mile high hello, everybody in Broncos country, and welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I am your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me, as always, is my good friend and colleague. He is your Denver Broncos insider and Mile High Huddle senior NFL draft analyst, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend. He is Erick Trickel. Erick, it's been kind of an interesting week with the Broncos game getting pushed back to Monday. It's gonna be, I don't know exactly how to go about that because the game is going to go live at 3 o'clock my time, 1 o'clock for you. Like, I'm barely going to be off work in time and everything. It's going to be just weird to try to come back and get focused up and ready to watch the game and ready to join in the live thread on milehighhuddle.com. But man, what's going through your mind right now? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Like, it's been a good week and everything, so that's all good. I mean, outside of some personal stuff that I shared on Twitter from Monday, the rest of the week's been good. I'll say that. But this postponement of the game has me so irritated for multiple reasons. Yeah. So, like, typically, obviously, the day after the game is when I always do my grades. That's when the video comes out and everything. But I don't have time to do any of that on Tuesdays. And with the game on Monday, I have to do Tuesday. So I'm not going to be able to get into that stuff till Wednesday, which puts my whole schedule for the week behind, which just puts me behind. And yeah, I'm very annoyed for that reason. But I also get it, like, what the players are saying, too, is that why are the Broncos players being punished for this? Because they're the ones that have to deal with the effects of it.
Right.
Is why are they getting punished for it when they weren't the ones breaking any of the guidelines and stuff like that? And I mean, I think it should have been from the start, and I think it still is that if a team has it to the point where they're like, if you try to reschedule a game, I should say, but if they're not following the regulations, they should be made to forfeit those games. That goes for the Texans or the Titans, and I think it should apply to the Patriots too, because I mean, after Cam Newton came back with having it. What does Stephon Gilmore go do? He goes out and has dinner with him. Like, that's not right. Like, that right there is breaking a bunch of guidelines that are in place to protect other players on the team and the NFL, and they break it. Like, try to reschedule it. I mean, just to see if unless they have if they don't have like a huge outbreak, then okay. Like, don't necessarily reschedule it. If it's just one person got it and the guidelines are being followed, like, then no, obviously, because at least they're trying. Like, right. But like the complete disregard to the guidelines in place by the Titans and the Patriots, man, they shouldn't have a chance to win those games.
No, I feel you on that. The Patriots one is a little. I'm not exactly sure the entire timeline as far as what happened with Cam Newton and Stephon Gilmore and everything like that. I know that what I had heard, I think earlier today, was that Newton had tested negative. Like, they tested Friday night, and they went out to lunch on Saturday before his test results came back, and then he ended up came back positive. Well, Gilmore was in close proximity with him because obviously they went to lunch together, but then Gilmore didn't socially distance or like quarantine himself or anything like that. Like, that's where the protocol is in question there. Like, let's be obvious here, guys. You test positive, stay away from everybody. Like, do what you got to do to protect yourself and protect everybody else around you.
Not even if you test positive, like, if you get tested for it, until you have your results back, you should be staying to yourself, staying away from people.
Right. Yeah.
And so even if this was before Cam Newton got his test results back, like, I guess it's a little different there because, I mean, they're getting tested every day, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, I mean, I don't know. Like,
it's such a messed up situation because, again, it does put the Broncos in kind of a bad situation here.
Well, now they have a short week before the Dolphins, and aren't the Patriots going on their bye week?
Yep, exactly. And I was just ready to say that. Shelby Harris came out and tweeted immediately after they said that they were going to reschedule the game that, why are we getting punished? The Patriots are going to go on a bye after this week. We have a short week and have a game against the Dolphins now. Like, that's not fair to us. And to take this one step even further, not to make this about the Titans or anything like that, but look at what's going on with the Buffalo Bills right now. Their game's getting pushed back from Sunday to Tuesday. They were supposed to play on Thursday. I think it was against the Chiefs or something like that. That game is now pushed to Sunday as the following Sunday as well. I understand you're going to have some stuff where you have to move some stuff around and whatnot, but the Titans blatant and like complete disregard and disrespect for the protocols and the guidelines that the NFL has like outlined for them, and then going behind everyone's back to go and hold a private practice with a bunch of players, and that's
forfeit draft picks.
Like exactly. There's got to be
forfeit
like
the games, forfeit draft picks. Like they need to be taught that that's not okay. Find every player, like set an example of them.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, absolutely. This is a very serious deal. Now to get away from that, I do apologize. Like there is an aspect.
We weren't planning on talking about that.
No, we really weren't. There's an aspect to this that we'll probably kind of address here in just a little bit. But anyways, guys, today we want to kind of bring to you our typical Dove Valley deep diver stuff here. What is something that the Broncos can do that on offense that's going to help out this young offense to try to gain some traction against a very difficult defense to navigate, ran by Bill Belichick? And yeah, they're not very good against the run right now, but you know what Bill Belichick's going to do. He's going to go out, he's going to try to neutralize your best player, pick on your weaknesses as bad as you possibly can. And I mean, it's pretty obvious what the Broncos' biggest weakness is going into this game. It's going to be Brett Rippon at the starting quarterback position. So what is Bill Belichick going to do? Neutralize the running game and make Brett Rippon beat him with his arm. So how can the Broncos go about doing that? Now, Eric, you brought up something here very interesting, and you've been saying something about it for the last, probably 2 or 3 weeks at least.
Months.
Well, that's also true. But what exactly is that? What exactly do the Broncos need to do to help Brett Rippon identify what's going on in front of him?
Motions, pre-snap motions. There is nothing more beneficial to a inexperienced quarterback, and sometimes even an experienced quarterback. I mean, the Colts with Peyton Manning, they're always doing motions because it gives you so much information about what the defense is doing. It gives you, depending on their shifts and movements, it gives you an idea if there's a blitz, who it's going to be, where it's coming from. So much information comes from that. And yeah, the quarterback's got to be able to pick up on all that, but you got to do it for the quarterback to have pick up on it. And some of the better plays that I saw against the Jets, which the Broncos did use a little bit more motion against the Jets than they did the first 3 games. The plays turned out pretty well for the most part. They were able to get that information pre-snap. And there's a correlation here between teams who are doing really well this year and their success with I have the stats and everything, but with their success coming from motions. It just gives so much information. And let's see here. And the correlation, I mean, look, just listen to this. The top 5 teams right now in how often they do this: the 3-1 Ravens, the 3-1 Rams, the 4-0 Bills, okay, the 1-3 Washington football team, and the 4-0 Packers. Those are your top 5 teams and how much they're using motion, and it's at almost 20% for every single one of them. The Packers are just at 19.6. Then the rest of these teams, there's only 2 other teams here that have, or 3, sorry, I missed one. In the top 16, that have a losing record. And then the ones in the lower ones, there is only 2 teams in the bottom, 3 teams in the bottom 16 that have a winning record. The Buccaneers, who they only use it 40%, and partially because that's probably Brady's old and blind, so motioning probably you won't be able to see it. The Browns and the Titans. Seahawks. There's 4. My bad, I missed them. And here we are. We have Denver. They're at 22 in it, and they use it 8.1% of the time. And you got to have that motion. You got to have that extra information for your quarterback. And no game is that going to be more prominent than this one because of how much of a genius that Bill Belichick is when it comes to his defense and the scheme he has running.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest thing to identify for a quarterback that's using any kind of a pre-snap motion. Not only just the blitzes and everything like that. What coverage are we playing? Are we going against straight man coverage across the board? Is it a combination coverage? Do we have zone on the outside, man? Like, is it a 2 deep zone with man underneath? Like, how do the safeties move around? Like, does a cornerback come across the field in motion with the wide receiver? Like, that's a straight man identifier right there. So with Brett Rippon, who's very good at identifying what's going on in front of him already and utilizing his pre-snap reads and getting the ball out quick, if you can help him in just even a little bit more by saying, all right, we're going to jet motion Jerry Jeudy all the way across the field before the snap, and we're going to see if a linebacker shifts or the safeties kind of move their coverage a little bit, if that cornerback trails behind him, help him identify it. Because Bill Belichick does such an amazing job, and this is something that I think that a lot of people don't really pay attention to, in disguising what his defense does. There's not a lot of motion. He doesn't like bring his blitzing linebacker, blitzing cornerback closer to the line of scrimmage. Like, if you can identify where that blitz is going to be coming from and use some hard counts as well, it's a pre-snap motions and stuff like that, Brett Rippon can actually have a little bit of success going against Bill Belichick. Now, again, it's so hard to diagnose because, again, Bill Belichick is very good at disguising stuff, but it's also going to help identify the Mike linebacker, or what should be the Mike linebacker, and identify your protection schemes as well, because you're going to be able to pick off where that cover that say that linebacker is going to be coming off the blitz, or the cornerback is going to be coming off the edge on the blitz. You're going to be able to identify that. It's going to help set your protection in the passing game as well. Like, there's so much advantage to utilizing pre-snap motion that it's not even funny. I mean, another thing, the Broncos have a crazy amount of speed, maybe not with KJ Hamler out and Noah Fant as well, but Jerry Jeudy's still a pretty quick player. Tim Patrick can get up to top speed pretty quick. It gets your players moving, and it gets them into their top speed faster in the down, utilizing speed to create some mismatches and stuff like that. You can also use it to create a misdirection play, run a Phillip Lindsay on some jet motion, run a counter play with Melvin Gordon off the backside of that, get guys flowing the wrong way across the line of scrimmage for the defensive side of the football, and then run back across the grain, get them out on the outside into some space, and you can open up some big plays like that. And you can also use it in the blocking game. I mean, Deshaun Hamilton, rocket motion, coming towards the line of scrimmage before the ball snapped, set hut, and now he's on a crack block, setting the edge for a sweep play coming around the outside. If you can utilize pre-snap motion, I'm kind of surprised that the Kansas City Chiefs aren't up there, because they motion so much all the time. They've got to be one of at least a top 10 team in utilizing pre-snap motion. And look at how effective their offense is day in and day out. It's crazy.
Yeah, and just for the record, Chiefs, they are ninth at 16.8%. So between fifth and ninth, that is 19.6 to 16.8. That's all that's separating them. But yeah, I mean, it's not just about helping your quarterback either, or your running back, or just getting the information. It's also helping out your receivers, especially with KJ Hamler, with Jerry Jeudy, with those guys, especially with their speed and route running, and the combination of the two with Jeudy anyways. You're getting them the information, you're getting them moving, and so you can just sit there and snipe the ball at the right time, like have it where the I can't think of the term for it now, but the play action where you motion the receiver and you snap it and fake it to them. Do that, and then you have you have Hamler finish, kind of taking that to a wheel route, something like that. Like you can do it to open up more for your receivers. You can do it more to open up your tight ends. You can just do it more to help out everybody. It's not just the quarterback, and it all comes about the information. I mean, it's what you said. Bill Belichick, his scheme, it does such a good job of covering up where the blitz is coming. It makes it harder to read. So doing anything that you can do to give that quarterback that extra information, you got to do it.
Right. Cody Potter coming in here on Super Chat. What's up, Cody? Thanks for joining us today. He says, I think early you will see 6 in the box with press coverage across the board with a safety or 2 over the top, and they will continue this until Brett Rippon proves that he can beat it. Jeudy needs to beat press coverage. And guys, you want to know one of the easiest ways to beat press coverage, especially before the snap? Pre-snap motion. Pre-snap motion. If your guy's moving already, and he has a trail coverage defender that has to move across the field, when you say hut, there's no press coverage anymore. He can't touch you. He's already running. That's one of the easiest ways to beat press coverage. Eric, you said that, last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago?
Something like that, yeah.
It's the Broncos got to get better at that. They really do. Identifying the coverages in front of them, helping the young quarterbacks out. It also helps the wide receivers too, especially if you're going to run press coverage beaters where you got some option routes where you can move some guys in and out. If they're playing off a little bit and you want to run say it's a post route or a crossing route, dictating depending on what the coverage is. If you're in pre-snap motion, now that opens up. You can see what's in front of you. This guy's gonna be playing in some off cover. So instead of running that deep post play, I'm gonna sell it like I'm running the post. I'm gonna run a dig route. We're gonna run the in route on that. We're gonna create some extra separation by knowing what's going on before the ball is even snapped.
Yep. And to go back to Cody Potter and what he said, he's talking about them basically trying to force the passing game, or take away the passing game and basically let them run. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think that they're going to want to try to get Brett Rippon to beat them. He just threw 3 interceptions against the Jets. The Patriots will punish them a lot more than the Jets did. They want the ball in Brett Rippon's hands. They don't want it in Melvin Gordon's hands because Melvin Gordon can be a playmaker. Brett Rippon hasn't proved that yet. Needs to go out there and prove it. Until they do, I think they'll sell out to stop the run.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said earlier today in the Mile High Huddle roundtable. Was the Bill Belichick's going to sell out to stop the run, and he's going to play press man coverage, and he's going to make Brett Rippon, who doesn't have the arm talent, available to make these tight window throws. If that's how it's going to play out, the Patriots walk away with this game, and it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for him, whether it's Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer or Cam Newton. It really doesn't matter, because if the Broncos can't move the ball offensively, what are you going to do? You can't score points if you don't move the football. Plain and simple. All right, guys, before we move on just a little bit here, I want to say hello to the chat really fast. Say hello, James. What's going on, man? Jim Hilton on Facebook. What's up, dude? Richie Rich in the house. Bawana doing his thing. Craig Chris coming in here on YouTube as well. Casey Martin, Cobra Commando. What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining the Dove Valley Deep Divers. You guys can follow us both on Twitter. Find me at Sanderson MHH, and for Eric at Erick Trickel. Guys, follow the podcast account at DVDB_pod. And while you guys are at it, follow at Mile High Huddle. It's the easiest way to keep in tune with what's going on with the Denver Broncos. Breaking news and film articles, analysis, opinion articles, stuff like that on your Denver Broncos, and everything that's going on with the Huddle Up Podcast Network as well. If you guys are in a financial position able to do so, head on over to huddleuppod.com, get your swag on, get your merch. That's the merch tent. Get yourself a hat. There's t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, coffee cups, anything to suit your fancy, something for the guys, for the gals. It's a great way to support the show. And if you guys are not financially able to do so, or maybe just don't even want to, the 3 easiest things you guys can do to help the show grow and help Mile High Huddle grow: subscribe wherever you guys are watching or listening after the fact, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle, like every video you guys see. And if you love it, share it out, get it in front of as many Broncos fans as humanly possible, because, again, that's the easiest way for us to grow. Now, Eric, let's see here. Where are we at? What else is pre-snap motion good for, other than identify? Like I said, you can use it in the running game. You can use it as misdirection. You can. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can utilize pre-snap motion in your offense that people don't even really necessarily understand. Is there anything else that we're missing here?
No, I mean, it's just so much information. It gives you an idea about the coverages and the line. I mean, from the linebackers, if they're blitzing, what kind of coverage they're doing. It just gives you the information from front to back, really. And I mean, the only thing it doesn't is on the defensive line, so you don't know if stunts or twists are coming. And that's about the only piece of information you can't get unless the player does a great job of it. And that is of hiding it. And that is one reason why that Bill Belichick can consistently field good defenses and make his players seem like stars. And then when they leave that scheme, they don't always play up to expectations because of how well that does for it. And I mean, again, just being able to help out your receivers, your tight ends, your running backs, your quarterback, and even your offensive line too. Because if they get an idea of who's coming for a blitz, it'll help them set their blocking alignment, which, quite frankly, that's been absolute rubbish these first four games that they played. Yep. So this pre-snap motion just helps you in every single aspect that they need to get helped at. And it's shameful to me that they haven't been doing it since the start of the season, because there is nothing better that you can do to help out an inexperienced quarterback. Give them that added information. And I'm actually really curious, and I reached out for this, and because I don't have the stats available to me about what Pat Shurmur's usage was in motions in the last couple of years with the Giants, and even 2017 with the Vikings, because from what I remember, he actually used it quite a bit with the Vikings.
Yeah.
But it'd be something to see and compare to what Denver's doing this year.
It is crazy to me that he's not utilizing the speed in that aspect. That's the biggest thing. I mean, Stephon Diggs is a guy that can take the top off of a defense, and really kind of the same mold as a Jerry Jeudy, where they really good route runners, really good separators as far as that goes, utilizing some speed and stuff like that. Why not get him on some pre-snap motion? I want him going across the formation, all the way across, from left to right, right to left. It doesn't matter. All the way across the formation. Not anything setting up a crack block or anything like that. You utilize Tim Patrick in that aspect. You utilize Deshaun Hamilton in, the 4 or 5 yard. We're just going to take a couple steps and hop and be ready to go. Now, I want to see some guys moving all the way across the formation from both sides of the field. And the fact that he hasn't really used Judy in that kind of an aspect, or even when he had KJ Hamler, like, that's very frustrating to me. Now, Kenneth Booker coming in here, and he said something that I want to kind of touch on really fast. He says, Brett Rippon had a tight window touchdown to Tim Patrick against the Jets. I remember exactly what play you're talking about. And Eric and I kind of took a look at this play prior to last week, actually. That was a really good throw from Brett Rippon, and it was a tight window throw. The timing was immaculate, but it was still slow. And that's the thing. You have to have the necessary arm strength and velocity to fit throws into that tight window on a consistent basis. And yeah, Rippon actually got away with one, because if you watch that play close enough, the defensive back, I don't remember exactly who it was, got a hand on the football, and it actually almost knocked the pass away, got a fingertips on it. And Tim Patrick actually bobbled the catch before he made the catch, almost didn't come down with the football. Like, if that's Drew Lock, where you can actually get a little zip on that, it's a touchdown. There's no, like, either way, it was a touchdown. Rippon made a hell of a throw, but he's not going to be able to do something like that on a consistent basis against press man coverage up front. Like, there's just no way. He's never been able to do it, even going back to Boise State. Like, you want to have him in off zone coverage with a lot of crossing routes and stuff like that, where he can read the field and utilize his IQ and his football acumen more than his actual natural athleticism and arm talent, because he doesn't have either one of those things. So, yeah, he had that one nice throw. Great, kudos to him. But also in a tight coverage window, he almost got intercepted and Jerry Jeudy bailed him out. He also forced a couple of tight window throws going in the fourth quarter, where he had made some bad pre-snap reads because there was no motion. It was obvious that he had a safety sitting on the outside on the pick six, and it was very obvious to see Pierre Desir sitting underneath. Like, so you missed that read there in the cover two shell, and look at what happens. It turns into a pick six. And also, he doesn't have the requisite arm talent to fit that into a small window like a Drew Lock could have been able to do. So That's what I'm talking about, more than saying he can't actually do it. He can. Any quarterback can make that throw. Just how consistently can you do it and get away with it when you make a mistake?
Yeah, there's one comment here I want to get to, because it kind of has to deal with the main topic of it. And James says that's something something that's more impactful than even pre-snap motion. Play action, combine them, and you have a potent offense.
Yes.
Well, I mean, just listen to this: the Ravens 37.5% motion, and when you look at play action, they're second in pass attempts out of play action. They are third in play action rate. The Los Angeles Rams are second in motion. They're first in play action passing attempts and second in play action rates. I mean, and the list goes on. The Chiefs, they're fourth here. The Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, they're 1-2-1. They're in the top half for motion. Here we are with play action. And a lot of times, as you see the correlation between pre-snap motion and play action. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you have the running back or the receiver motioning across. You fake it off to him, then you hand it off, or you pass it, or run option there, like just all sorts of stuff like that. Which, I mean, that's a big reason why the Chiefs and Ravens offenses are so potent as they are, is they just combine everything and then they sneak then the Chiefs will sneak out their offensive tackle and give him the touchdown. But yeah, it's just the combination of combining everything, and that's something that Denver's got to do going forward, is just start combining a little bit more of it. Lock's athletic enough. I think he's smart enough. I think they can do some RPOs with him.
Yep.
I think that they can combine that motion, that pre-snap motion, and the play action as well, which most of the time we've seen them do motion. I think it's led to a play action probably at least 75% of the time. But it's something that they just got to do more. Just get more information for your quarterback, get more information for everybody on your offense, and just take away a little bit of what the defense is. Because, I mean, if you have a defense that's at 100%, then you know nothing that's coming. But that pre-snap motion, that could drop them 90%, 75%, depending on how they motion in response and everything like that. And you'd have a lot, I mean, it's 100% mystery or 75% mystery. What would you rather have? What would you rather play against?
Well, and then even to go off on top of that, you have the 75% mystery of the pre-snap motion, where you've already identified some keys and whatnot. Now you incorporate some play action where it actually opens up even some more spacing, because you guys got biting on that run action. Your quarterback turns his head and it's like right there, blatant, wide open. That's where you have to go with the football. it opens up so much when you actually combine two of those things. And James, thanks for bringing that up. That's a great point there. All right. I was actually kind of looking through some of this stuff, and you hit on one of them. I pulled it up. Charlie Beagle coming in and saying that we're talking about wrinkles that the Broncos can bring into this offense, and that was a great one. Garrett Bowles is the tackle eligible. There's another one here that I want to grab, and it's probably going to happen.
It is. The NFL is a copycat league. The Chiefs did it. Denver's next. Like, it's only
right.
coming.
Yeah.
Garrett Bowles is actually a pretty good athlete, guys.
Yeah. You know, I was listening, and I brought this up in our group chat earlier today. I was listening to Broncos Country Tonight this morning from the episode from last night on a podcast, and Benjamin Albright comes on and he says, you know, Garrett Bowles is one hell of an athlete. And in fact, guys, you would be amazed to watch this guy play lacrosse. He's athletic enough to play lacrosse, and he's actually a phenomenal lacrosse player. So that just give you kind of an idea of the athlete that we have here. Now, Craig coming in here, and I want to just address this really fast, just based on what we've seen with Noah Fant. And he has an ankle injury right now. It doesn't sound like he's going to be able to go even with the extra day of added rest. Albert Okwuegbunam needs to get some offensive snaps. And I'm kind of with Eric on this one until he can get better as a blocker and refine his route running technique and everything like that. It's going to be hard for the Broncos to get him incorporated. But with Fant being down, there's your replacement. That's your replacement right there.
That's what I was going to say is, like, if Fant was healthy, then no, because you're taking Fant off the field for Okwuegbunam, because you're not going to take him and replace Vanette with him. You're not going to replace Butt with them, because guess what? Despite their issues as blockers, they're a better blocker than Albert Okwuegbunam is. I mean, it was touched upon multiple times from the coaching staff about how terrible he was doing as a blocking. I think Vic Fangio flat out said he's doing terrible as a blocker. Him or Pat Shurmur did. And I think that Nick Vanette or Jake Butt also called him out for his terrible blocking. So he's not going to replace the blocking guys. He's going to replace the receiver threat. And that's Noah Fant. With Noah Fant out, now's the time you get him a little bit of action while he's still hurt. See what he can do. There's issues there with his route running because he's not the most agile tight end with that size. I mean, he's got great straight line speed, but it doesn't translate well when it comes to turning. And so you got to be careful with how you get him used. This is obvious. I mean, Okwuegbunam, he's very much a fan favorite. I mean, I get it. It's a combination of how fast he ran. It's a combination of the fact that he has experience with Drew Lock. I get all that, but like, it's just a matter of you got to be more than that. And right now, he's a great athlete. He's not much of a football player.
Right.
That's the big thing. You want him to be more of a football player. You can use him in the red zone a little bit. I mean, he's got good size there. I mean, if you got to go for verts, like, there you go. Like, you can use him there. Just to get a way to use his speed a little bit, but you're really limiting the offense when you put him out there.
Yeah, it is really hard. I wish that the Broncos would have found a way to incorporate Albert O in the red zone, but the red zone play calling, in my opinion, has been absolutely god-awful. So it really doesn't matter until Pat Shurmur can pull his head out of his you-know-what and figure out how to call offensive plays within the red zone, like not calling boot action plays in the red zone. How about handing the ball off to your, $16 million running back inside the 5-yard line a couple times? That would be pretty cool. But if you can figure out a way to incorporate Albert Okwuegbunam and Noah Fant on some red zone touchdowns, throw the ball up, make him box out and go get it. That's probably where you're going to see Albert Okwuegbunam. But as you said, Eric, until he can actually become a better blocker and show the want to become a better blocker, I think that's another big thing. And it was Vic Fangio that called him out immediately, saying that, until he can actually become a blocker, he's not going to see a whole lot of time on the field. So I don't know. But with Noah Fant out, I would imagine we're going to see some Albert Okwuegbunam. Now, guys, before we get going forward any further, I do got to give you guys some information here. This podcast is brought to you by sportsbetting.com. Sportsbetting.com. Tonight's live stream is Broncos Country, gambling is now legal in the state of Colorado, and here's what makes sportsbetting.com a no-brainer for sports fans. They have sharp odds and low juice. They have in-house bookmakers, and they're not a third-party provider of odds. Reduced juice means that they have the best prices. There's hassle-free bonuses with a one-time rollover, meaning that the bonus money is yours after you bet it one time. Other sites range from 5 to 30 times. They have 24/7 live customer support, and there's always a real person in the United States. But also, here's the kicker. At sportsbetting.com, you can get a 100% risk-free week of sports betting up to $500. Not just one bet, but all of your bets. So play for a week, and if your losses exceed your winnings at the end of that week, sportsbetting.com will cover 100% of the difference up to $500 with a one-time rollover. So guys, head on over to sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle, sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle, and capitalize on a risk-free week of sports betting up to $500. Now, there was another quick question here, Eric, and I want your opinion on this one. What's up with Drew Lock and the sprained AC joint? Is there a potential possibility that the Broncos are going to suit up Drew Lock? Maybe not start him, but suit him up and see if there is, see if Brett Rippon's really struggling. If there's a chance the Broncos can come back in the second half, get Drew Lock on the field, would that be enough of a separation for the Broncos to want to suit up Drew Lock? Or is he just going to sit out this week and be ready to go against Miami?
So I think that if he's not good to go, I don't think they're going to leave him there and put him in. It's either if he plays, he's going to start. If he's not ready, he's not going to play. It just comes down to that, and we'll probably see him there. I think that the leash for Brett Rippon will be short. And I think that Blake Bortles is the guy to come in, and if Drew Lock's unable to play, if Drew Lock's able to play, he'll start the game and hopefully finishes it. But yeah, that's just how it is for me. I don't think they'll do this whole thing with the kind of like what the Jets did and push Sam Darnold back out there before he was actually good enough to go. Sam Darnold, he went back in the game. Now he's going to miss this week, and there's some talk that I've heard that it's going to be a few weeks before he's back. We'll see how it goes. So it's just thing that you don't want to rush him back. Like that's all it is. You don't want to rush your quarterback that you hope is your quarterback of the future. You don't want to rush him back.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I heard another great point listening to the radio earlier today. Can you imagine like the gut punch that it would be to not only like the fans, but the team itself if the Broncos were to march out Drew Lock out there? And they've got the Patriots actually have a really good pass rusher in Chase Winovich, the rookie from Michigan, and he's playing great football. Can you imagine him coming off the right edge against DeMar Dotson, who's not quite as fleet of foot as a pass rusher. He's better than Elijah Wilkinson, but Chase Winovich wins with really good speed coming off the edge. Can you imagine him lighting up Drew Lock? He falls on that shoulder, and now we're not talking about just missing the New England Patriots game or the Miami Dolphins game or even the Chiefs game. That's
we're talking about targeting a quarterback early in the draft.
Yeah, we're talking about missing Drew Lock for weeks 12, 13, 14, and 15 as well. Yeah. Could you imagine that though, Eric? If Lock went out there and got hurt and like Broncos country would implode. Yeah. They would absolutely implode.
I think it's safe to say if Drew Lock goes out there and gets hurt again this season, Denver's going to move on. They may keep him around for maybe a backup guy, but they're moving on from him as their starter. Like I think that's pretty much a safe bet right there. This guy, at this point he's played in 6.5 games, not even, more like 6.25 games, and he's been hurt twice. Granted, okay, let's add in preseason there, so it'd be about 10 games, 9 games. Still, that's not what you want. Like if the guy is going to be your starter, and then a third time on top of that. Yeah, no, it's just let him heal. I think that it'll be good for him. I've seen a lot of stories and everything of quarterbacks who they rushed it back and their shoulder was never the same. I call this a major injury a couple weeks back, and I stand by that because of that fact. I mean, He didn't have to have surgery on it, but if you rush back from those, that's something that'll bother you for the rest of your life. When I've sprained my knees and my ankles multiple times, even after the first time, I didn't let them fully heal. I just kind of pushed myself through it, and now my knees and ankles just bother me all the time.
Right.
Again, granted, it's multiple sprains, but still, it's the fact that you're just trying to rush back from injury. That's not what you want to do, especially with injuries like that.
Well, and especially with an injury to the throwing shoulder of your franchise quarterback. Like, if that's just the plain and simple point of it, guys. Like, it's a sprained AC joint on his throwing shoulder. If he falls and hurts that throwing shoulder, he's no longer a quarterback. That's plain and simple how it is.
And one of the questions is if the team rushed him back, is that really on Lock? No, it's on the team for rushing him back, but at the same time, it is on Lock because the best ability is availability. You got to show that you can stay out there and be able to play and everything like that. And if your body's not able to take the game, then that sucks.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you have to protect yourself from yourself, and the team has to protect you from yourself as well. Like there's multiple common denominators in this. You can't just point the fingers at Vic Fangio and the coaching staff or John Elway and the front office for saying, hey, don't play him, he's not ready yet, or even Drew Lock. I mean, he's a competitor. He wants to go out there and play. And
yes.
in fact, Mike Kliss actually said, I think it was earlier today, that if this was a playoff game, like if the Broncos were in the playoffs playing the Patriots this week, Drew Lock would play. Like he's at least ready enough to play in that aspect of it. But let's be real here, guys. Broncos sitting at 1-3 right now. They really need this win. It's not exactly a playoff game. I mean, it feels like one just a little bit more or less because it's a huge game. Broncos turned their season around. But it's also not the be-all, end-all. We're week 5, guys. Like, we've got a long season to go. There's still 11 games.
We have a better record this year than we did last year.
Yes, we do.
At this point.
Look at what happened. I mean, it didn't finish greatly, but the Broncos won 4 out of their last 5 games. And, you go out, you win against the Patriots, you win against the Dolphins. You're sitting at 3-3. You're going into Kansas City with some juice back. You're
walking out 3-4.
Yep, they're probably walking out 3-4, but still, I mean, you walk into that matchup with some new life. You get AJ Bouye back on the boundary. You're going to get Philip Lindsay back this week. You're going to get Noah Fant back probably by that week as well. So you can, and probably KJ Hamler as well. Like you're going to have the majority of your offense for the most part ready to play going into Kansas City with a 3-3 record. You're revitalized. You're ready to go. Like it's this week does not mean the whole season is over. If the Broncos lose this week, it is what it is. We probably already knew that this was going to happen in the first place. But it is a big week, because if the Broncos do win this week against a very good Patriots team, it can turn their season around. You really can.
Yeah, so Charlie says playoffs. Don't talk to me about playoffs. They're iconic in the sports world, and I just want to say, Charlie, we're talking to everybody else about playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
We did get the super chat here, which is actually kind of good timing. I think it's a very great question. I think the timing's actually is superb. He says, hey, fellas, hope everyone is doing well. Eric, if the draft happened today, who are you taking? Trevor is off the board. Well, right now, I believe it's the NFL actually has them projected for the 8th, or set in at the 8th pick. And I'm not going to say who I'm taking. I have an article coming out, my first mock draft. I'm going to be typing it up after the show and getting it published hopefully sometime this weekend. I typically always do one after each quarter of the season, after 4, after 8, after 12, after the season. So got to stay tuned for that, and just keep track of them as they go on, because get to see how much it's changed. But yeah. I think that this, I'll give a slight spoiler. I think this mock draft is going to ruffle some feathers. It's not a quarterback.
This is going to be good. I actually just pulled up tankathon.com, they do live updates to the NFL draft, NBA, NHL, and MLB draft order, actually. And they have the Broncos currently sitting with the 10th overall pick. Now, guys,
NFL.com has them as the 8th.
Really? Wow. Okay. Is that based on? Was that based on?
It's based off It's based off the actual. No, it's based off of all the tiebreakers and everything like that.
Okay.
That the NFL has. They're like 8th or 9th.
Huh. Okay. Regardless, now if it does play out like this, the Broncos are sitting at number 10 overall. They probably won 6-7 games, if that 5, 6, 7 games, somewhere around in there. But again, with all the injuries, the situation in the world right now that is really kind of throwing a monkey wrench into everything. Locke probably came back, didn't play very well. I don't know that I'm ready to kick the can down the road on Drew Lock yet. If you have an opportunity to go and get like a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence, but you said Trevor's off the board here. So Justin Fields, I'm not sure how I feel about Trey Lance from North Dakota State yet. I'm probably looking at a different direction there. And given Bradley Chubb, they have to make a decision on his 5th-year option this year. We don't know exactly the future with Von Miller. We do know he's going to hang up on you if you ask him about it. No, like edge rusher here is probably a big one to me, or honestly a cornerback. Sean Wade was
running back. Really Let's go good. Running back. Take a running back and just annoy the heck out of Nick. Go running back here.
Give me Chuba Hubbard in the first round.
I'm down. But yeah, I see Penei Sewell. This guy, he's going to be the first non-quarterback taken. I doubt he'll be there at the 8th. If he is, Denver should just start praising everybody and praising everything, because they just had a lot of luck fall into their lap.
Yeah. I honestly, with the way that Garrett Bowles is playing right now, and you're going to get Juwan James back. Well, you think you're going to get Juwan James
You said
back.
his name.
I know. I'm
You
sorry.
cursed us.
Dude, you and I have been slapping the table, and he's been playing so well. There's talks about him getting an extension here. Like they're talking about the Broncos are going to offer him a contract extension here soon. Like this is a big deal. Garrett Bowles is playing great football. You're going to get Juwan James back. Is an offensive tackle in the first round really the way you want to go?
Yes. Yes.
I'm not so sure I am.
If it's Penei Sewell, yes.
Oh yeah, if it's Penei Sewell, absolutely.
Like,
but if it's Alex
outside of him, no.
Is it Alex Leatherwood? No. Is it Samuel Cosme? No. Is it Dylan Radunes? No. Like, absolutely not. I'm like, if I can get Penei Sewell, then absolutely I'm going to take Penei Sewell, put him at left tackle, and say, Garrett Bowles, sorry, dude.
Is it Daniel Fa'alele? Yes.
There you go. That's your boy. That's your boy. No, I wouldn't go offensive tackle there. I'd probably look to secure some help in the secondary at cornerback position. Sean Wade would be a good example there. Patrick Surtain Jr. would be a great one there. I would probably look as far as what's that Oregon safety? Hollins, I think is his last name. I can't remember. Interior defensive line wouldn't be a bad idea.
Real quick, I gotta throw this in here, Charlie. I'm the senior draft analyst for Mile High Huddle. All year is draft year for me. Of course, we're going to talk about it a little bit on my show. Our show. Yes. Of course we are.
Yes.
I don't try to let it dominate the conversation during the season. We do try to sit there and look at that a little bit. But I absolutely love talking about the draft. It's my favorite thing. It's what got me doing this, was talking about the draft. Years ago, I commented on an article of Chad's about the draft. And I think the whole comment was actually my mock draft. And he reached out if I want to be part of the staff, and here we are. So the draft's got me to where I was to where I am. Like it's a big part of me when it comes to doing this. So yeah, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to say that like the whole reason why I got selected to join Mile High Huddle was my
we're both draft guys. Yeah,
mock drafts. It was a mock draft that I wrote. It was a huge first round mock draft. Chad found it and said, "You know what? You're the guy. I like you." Steven coming in here. Steven, also, I saw you're late. Tisk, young man. You know when we start. He says, who are the top inside linebackers in the draft right now? Micah Parsons, obviously, he's probably going to be a top 5, 6, 7 pick.
He should be the second non-quarterback taken.
He should be. Dylan Moses from Alabama is another one as well. Outside of that, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really started my draft stuff yet.
Give me a second. I could pull them up. I'm trying to think of other names off. I have a lot of later round guys right now that I've been watching that I definitely think are going to move up. Anthony Hines. There's Amari Gaynor. Out of Texas, I want to say Texas Tech. I might be mistaken on that, or Texas A&M, one of the two. Texas A&M for Anthony Hines, and then Florida State for Amari Garner. But I mean, you've got Jabril Cox, you've got Cameron McGrone, and this one, of course, Marcus Campbell. Micah Parsons. Sorry. He's a good one. Chaz Surratt, he's a guy from North Carolina. I liked him quite a bit last year. It's going to be interesting to see what he's doing. There's the hybrid out of Notre Dame. I'm not going to try to say his name. This is one of the better linebacker classes in a while. I would say that it's probably right there behind. I want to say 2018 was that the year of Roquan Smith and Terrell Edmonds and the guy from Boise State,
Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah, Leighton Vander Esch.
All right, so Levi jumping back in the water here, and he asks, Eric, do you believe Vaughn will be here next year, and what would you do if you were Elway in the Von Miller situation?
This is tough because, I mean, Von Miller, he's been a cornerstone for this Broncos defense for so long, but now here he is. He's hurt. A lot's going to depend on if he gets back playing this year, what he's able to do. It's kind of a rough question. I really want to see how the rest of the year goes. As a fan, I would like to see them try to figure out some way where he can stay with the Broncos on a cheaper deal, especially with the salary cap projected to drop. That's where I'm at, but my gut's telling me he's not here next year.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but honestly, what is it, 22 million? I think he's counted for against the cap next year. I think that what the Broncos, if they were going to keep him around, we're talking a straight blatant out restructure, convert, $18 million of his base salary into a signing bonus. You'll have to extend him for another year there to kind of lower that cap hit, at least for this year. I'm not sure exactly what that would look like for the next, I think 2 years. There's 2 years left on his deal. So you'd have to figure out a way to do something like that, because prorating that signing bonus, like I said, $18 million, prorate that over 3 years, cap hits of $6 million over the next 3 years, turn it into a deal like that. That would be something that I think the Broncos would have some interest in. However, it all comes down to Vaughn, and everybody knows the situation with him and Zach By and Brandon Stokely on 104.3 The Fan the other day. Very messy situation. It could have been handled better, and in all parties could have handled that situation better. But at the same time, it's a tricky situation to navigate. And as of right now, especially with him coming off a peroneal tendon dislocation in his ankle, like, you don't really know. He wants to come back this year. He wants to come and play, especially if the Broncos are competing. And he actually said that. He said that on the very same interview with Zach and Stoke. Like, it's a very tricky, finicky situation, but with the Broncos needing edge rushers moving forward, I mean, Jeremiah Tauchi's on a 1-year deal. Bradley Chubb, they got to figure out what they've got to do with his 5th-year option. Malik Reed is, okay at best. That's probably the biggest hole on this Broncos roster outside of figuring out what they have in the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So,
and Casey Martin says, so much will change between now and next April. It's crazy to try to project what might happen right now. And I want to make this clear. When I do mock drafts this early in the season, it's not about projecting who the Broncos take or anything like that, or them landing in that spot. That's not what I do them for. The mock draft element is what makes it fun for me. It's more so my way of getting out there who these players are, what type of prospect they are, and how they can help the Broncos. It's more about that information aspect of it than actually trying to project who's right or thing. Once that comes about April or so, March, April, that's when my serious mock drafts of actually trying to project them actually come out. But yeah, it's just all about the information right here. And Cobra said he's out. It's 3 a.m. He's also at Pleasant Draft Talk, not current football. LL, take care, BC. Cobra, have a good night. Morning where you're at. But as we said earlier, we're both draft guys. We don't talk about it all the time on here, but every now and then we're going to talk about it. So
yeah, especially when the questions set up on a tee for us to hit out of the park. Like, we got to take advantage of the situation while we can. Steven coming in here asks if there are any talks to extend Bowles. I said this earlier, but I'll answer your question here. Yes, actually, and Benjamin Albright said that last week, I believe, on Broncos Country Tonight, that he has actually heard that the Broncos are getting ready to extend a contract extension to Garrett Bowles, and they are going to actively start engaging in those discussions. So yes, that is an actual thing. And my, how far we have come from last year, where everyone's like, the 5th-year option gets declined. Everyone's saying, that tackle is a great – no. Garrett Bowles coming out and playing pretty damn good football, guys. And when it goes from being, we're talking about when are we going to release this kid to now we're going to make him the left tackle of the future and offer him a contract extension, even if it's a short-term 2-year deal, give him some money, make him prove it, make him go out and earn it again. But also, I said this on Building the Broncos the other day, Garrett Bowles, when he was coming out in 2017, everyone said 2 to 3 years. In 2 to 3 years, you will know what you have with Garrett Bowles. Well, guys, this is the beginning of year 4. He had 2 to 3 years worth of development with 3 different offensive line coaches. So he's finally in the same system with the same offensive line, not same offensive system, the same offensive line coach for the first time in his football playing career going back to high school. Like,
he had that. It's finally that one person that he has, not trying to change his technique or anything like that. Because when you have a change of offensive coach, they're going to want you to do things a little bit differently. And I think that consistency there, I think that is the biggest reason why we are seeing the improvement, is that he's not having to change his technique, even though they did change his technique a little bit, but it was a way that actually worked better with what Bowles was doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they should be talking to extend it. They really should. If this is the play that they're going to get, and it's been consistent too. It's not like a flash in the pan where he'll have one good game and then a couple down. No, he has been the best Broncos offensive player to date this year. Seriously. Yeah. He might be the best player on the whole team this year right now. And according to Pro Football Focus, he is the highest graded player on the Broncos roster right now. So if this is that's franchise level left tackle play. He's a top 5 tackle in the NFL right now. Like, if that's what you're going to get, and you can get him at $13-14 million a year, which is what they're probably going to try to do, $13-14 million a year, that puts him at the 9th or 10th highest paid left tackle in the NFL. Like, of course you want to extend that contract to him. Now, Eric, before we get out of here, I got one really just quick kind of thought that I want to run by you here. And Vic Fangio kind of addressed it earlier today. I think it might have been yesterday, about how the Broncos are going about their preparation for the Patriots this week, because they don't know with Cam Newton and the whole tested positive situation. How do you go about preparing for an offense when you don't necessarily know if Cam Newton is going to play? Now, Vic actually said, what we're doing is we're preparing as if Cam Newton is going to play. And I imagine that's probably the truth there. But without Cam Newton in the fold, how does this defense need to go out and attack the Patriots offense, and what can they do to win?
Well, I mean, if you watch the last Patriots game, I mean, if it's not Cam Newton starting, you just let Brian Hoyer shoot themselves in the foot, shoot that offense in the foot, or you let Jarrett Stidham shoot that offense in the foot.
Yeah.
They're not good.
No.
And so you do what Vic Fangio said. You go and prepare for the best quarterback out there, and you make what adjustments you need to for Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham. With Brian Hoyer, you're not going to have a guy who's going to use his legs to pick up yards. And with Jarrett Stidham, you're going to have a guy that can't throw 5 yards accurately. So you just adjust off your main thing that you schemed up for it and everything, and just make what a little bit of adjustments you do. I think that's how the majority of teams go about uncertainty at the quarterback position. They prepare for the better one and then adjust to the worst.
Right. And the biggest thing that you see with Cam Newton, and he's not playing great quarterback play. He's managing the offense and making some big plays, but a lot of it is based off of his ability to run. And I mean, he has had a couple of rushing touchdowns. I think week 1 he had 2, but he only has 2 passing touchdowns. He has more interceptions than he does touchdowns right now. And that's not exactly a great way of playing the quarterback position. Let's just be honest here. But the threat of him being able to run, especially in the red zone, you got to take that away somehow. So you're going to prepare for that. And Jarrett Stidham, let's not kid ourselves here. Jarrett Stidham's not a great passer of the football. He's actually a pretty decent athlete. He can move around. And he can sling the ball when he's on the run just a little bit. So you got to kind of watch out for that. And the Patriots offense actually did look a little bit better with Jarrett Stidham playing, especially compared to Brian Hoyer. But he still shot him in the foot through 2 costly interceptions in the fourth quarter, just like Brett Rippon did. And if you're going to do anything to prepare any kind of different scenario for a Jarrett Stidham or a Brian Hoyer, it's coverage disguise. You've got to coverage disguise. You don't necessarily have to get after him and get after him with pass pressure or anything like that. Just confuse him up front. Be confusing. Don't play your vanilla coverages like you always do. Stop playing that straight cover 4, the cover 3 stuff that you're doing. Run some man. Run some hybrid 2-man stuff. Get some extra blitzers coming off the cornerback. Instead of running Alexander Johnson like he's bashing his head into a wall in the A gap, bring a cornerback on off the edge and drop an extra linebacker. So do something different just to confuse them a little bit. Because if you confuse them, you're forcing them into mistakes, because neither one of them are very good quarterbacks in that aspect. Now, the one thing that I do really want to emphasize, and this is probably the biggest key for the Broncos defensively if they want to win this game, has nothing to do with Cam Newton. It has nothing to do with Jarrett Stidham. It really has nothing to do – it does, but at the same time, not really that much. They've got to figure out a way to cover Rex Burkhead and James White coming out of the backfield. That is something. Those are easy throws for those quarterbacks to make. They make them on a high level, and that's something that Josh McDaniels has wanted to do for the past decade. Incorporate shifty running backs out in the flats, out on these angle routes, these circle routes and stuff over the middle of the field. Get the ball out quick into your playmakers' hands and let them go to work. The Broncos, especially with Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson and their deficits in coverage, if they can't figure out a way to stop that and neutralize that, boys, this could be bad. This could be really bad.
Yeah, definitely. Just a couple more comments here that I want to get into. Timothy Hawkinson says, how did the Broncos handle the cap this year with all the signings and injuries? Hashtag DBFL, hashtag State of being stuck in Vikings territory, proving that that Broncos country is a state of being and not a geographical location. Basically, my thing is that they kind of stay put. You don't make any big signings this year because I know they have all that cap space, but you're able to roll that over. And it's very clear that is their goal, that they want to roll over as much as possible. which with the cap going down again, that's really the smart move to go about it. But the biggest issue, it's not cap space that's their issue. It's cash. They don't have it. They need to get an ownership situation resolved so they can have the cash and the assets to be able to do in contracts like the Chiefs are, and the Texans and one other team that handed out some big money this year. You got to have the cash on hand if you want to do those kinds of deals, and Denver doesn't. And that's really impacting them. That was a big reason why Justin Simmons' extension didn't get done. It wasn't that John Elway didn't want to pay him. It was that they didn't have the cash to pay him.
Yeah, you gotta have cash in your pocket to be able to write a check. Like if you don't have money in your bank account, you don't get to write a check for your groceries. And it's the same situation with the Broncos there. All right, a couple more here before we got to get out of here, guys. Kenneth Booker coming in here with a $2 super. What's up, dude? What free agent pass coverage linebackers are available next season? And honestly, I don't even know. I haven't looked at that.
Justin Sternad. I think the Broncos, they drafted him with the hopes for him to be the coverage linebacker. I know he's hurt this year, but everything I've heard is that he'll get a good chance next year to be that guy. If they get anybody, it'll be a cheap deal of a guy who is a little bit younger with some upside, or it'll be a late round draft pick to add another coverage option there. But yeah, I think that they're going to go Justin Sternad first. And then Stephen Baumgartner, says, what have you thought of Michael O? And I tweeted out everything earlier, but this is a guy who, without that Steelers game, I know we don't really want to take out one game, but this just goes to show how good he's been outside of that. Is he has allowed 0.5 yards per coverage snap. 0.5. That is the lowest in the NFL. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, he goes up to a 1.24 with Pittsburgh, which is 41st, I think is what it was, out of 67 corners. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that he's been really good, but that Steelers game was that rookie game, and he bounced back from that really well. I think his 2 NFL passer ratings that he allowed the following 2 games was right at 60, and one was 49 against the Bucs. Like, he was great, and he was good against the Titans too. Yeah. The biggest thing is when he gets his hands on the ball, get the interception. You got to finish the play. Just almost making it's good, but you want that great play.
Yeah, say that to Devontae Bosby as well. Man, that should have been a pick 6 at the end of the Jets game. But no, Michael O, and the Steelers game, yeah, there is one big outlier, 2 big outliers of plays there. But the one big outlier there is when Michael Ojemudia got beat over the top, 84-yard touchdown.
I'd be curious about taking just that one snap out.
Me too. Like,
see what I would do.
Yeah, that'd be a great piece of information to have, because I bet you it drops down probably below 1 yard per coverage snap as well.
I think it would probably be around 0.9.
Yeah, I was going to say 0.89, 0.9, something like that. Yeah, somewhere around in that general area. Yeah, like that's a pretty good, interesting point. And then obviously the second touchdown he allowed, the one to Deontay Spencer on the Ben Roethlisberger bootleg play, escaping pressure and extending the play with his legs and then throwing the ball over the top of Ojemudia's head to Deontay Johnson. You can't really fault a guy for that. You can't cover forever. You just can't. You got to figure out a way to get Ben Roethlisberger to the ground there. And if he does extend the play, he's going to hit you over the top, and that's exactly what happened. Deontay Johnson wide open. There's nothing you can do there. But my overall thoughts, Michael O, is that he's been playing really well. The one big gripe that I have outside of not catching the football when he gets his hands on it is his tackling. And yeah, he's been a pretty good tackler. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see him continue to just bring his shoulder and not bring his arms. So he's not a wrap-up tackler. He's a thumper, and he wants to go up and lay the big hit. I want to see him come, bring his arms with him, wrap up, and drive guys through the ground. Stop leaving your feet and going for the big hit and hit with your shoulder. Drive through a runner and get them to the ground on a consistent basis. There's been multiple times where I've seen him go and lay the big hit, and the guy ends up just stand like they'll go out of bounds, and he'll get the credit for the tackle, but he's not getting the ground. They're still standing on their feet when the play's over. Like, you've got to figure out a way to get these guys to the ground, especially at this level, because we saw it against Juju Smith-Schuster. He had that one bad missed tackle out in the flat, turned into a 15-yard gain, set up this Pittsburgh Steelers inside the 5 for a goal line touchdown. Plain and simple. If you wrap up there, that was on 3rd and 10, by the way. 3rd and 10. If you wrap up there, the Steelers kick a field goal there, and you don't allow a touchdown.
Yeah, And I actually went and did the math. And so Ojimudi has allowed 214 receiving yards. 84 of them came on that long Claypool touchdown. If you take that out, 130 yards on 178 coverage snaps, 0.7.
0.7. Wow.
0.73, which would be eighth best.
Man, that's absolutely impressive. Absolutely. For a rookie, too, a third-round rookie that people were like, he's going to have to get brought up slow. He had an injury in training camp, missed some time as well.
Wait. Wasn't there one person who was in there saying, this guy's probably going to compete to start right away? He's such a good team fit. Like, if only we knew somebody who was saying that.
I don't know, but he definitely doesn't work for milehighhuddle.com. Now, guys, that's going to do it for the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Eric with the chest pounding there. And you know what? We can do some chest pounding every now and again when we get some stuff right. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Thank you all for watching the show. You guys can follow us on Twitter. Find me at Sanderson MHH, and for Eric at Erick Trickel. You guys follow the show as well. The show account is DVDD_pod. Guys, while you're at it, follow at Mile High Huddle. It's the easiest way to keep up with what's going on with the Huddle Up Podcast Network and everything breaking news, analysis, and film breakdowns, opinion articles on your Denver Broncos. Anything that happens with the Broncos, you'll find it at milehighhuddle.com. Guys, if you guys are, again, just a soft reminder, if you guys are in a position financially and able to do so, head on over huddleuppod.com. Get yourself a DVDD hat. There's a T-shirt there as well. We've got coffee cups, face masks, mugs, hoodies, anything to fit your fancy. Still waiting on my onesie, by the way. If you guys are not actually able to do so, or don't necessarily want to do so, if you guys really love what we're doing here at Mile High Huddle and on the Huddle Up Podcast Network, the 3 easiest things you guys can do is subscribe wherever you guys are watching to Mile High Huddle, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, After the Fact, Spotify, whatever. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video you guys see. Click those little thumbs up, as Chris Hernandez likes to say all the time. And if you love it, share it. Get it in front of as many Broncos fans as humanly possible. Now, Eric, before we get out of here, I got to ask you, man, who you got on Monday night?
The Patriots.
Yeah, me too.
The Broncos. I think that they don't lose as badly if Cam Newton doesn't play compared to if he does play.
Yeah,
I think there's definitely a much better chance if he doesn't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If Cam Newton doesn't play, the Broncos actually do have a chance to win this game. But it all comes down to what are the Broncos going to be able to do offensively. I think that the Patriots are going to figure out a way to incorporate their running backs in the passing game. Like I said earlier, Burkhead and James White are going to have huge days especially against Josie Jewell. If they target Josie Jewell in coverage, it's going to be awful. Motion. But ugly game, tight game, probably 17-10 is what I have the Patriots right now. If it's Cam Newton, it's probably 24 to 10. I just don't trust the Broncos offense to be able to go against with a young quarterback, and Bill Belichick eats these kids for breakfast, picks his bones with their teeth. Like it's bad. It's going to be bad. Broncos are going to drop to 1-4 on the season. Now, Eric, anything else you got going on this weekend?
Rest. There's actually a new Star Wars video game out, Star Wars Squadron, so I'm super excited to dive into that some more. Literally and figuratively, dive into a spaceship.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, man, I just got my mock draft that's coming, and then it's going to be just trying to enjoy the weekend.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to go shoot some guns, make sure we're ready for hunting camp. Guys, I will not be here next Friday, and probably the Friday after that as well. We're still trying to figure out the logistics of everything. You might see a special guest coming in here. You're going to recognize the name and the face. But anyways, guys, for Eric, I am Lance Sanderson. You guys stay safe. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you guys later. I will see you guys later. Peace out.